Are you ready? The hour of noon having arrived, I will call to order the Common Council meeting of Tuesday, April 15th, 2025, and ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Farrell Cole. Farrell Cole is here. Govindarajan. Govindarajan is here. Ugair. Ugair is here. Harrington McKinney is excused. Knox. Knox is here. Latimer Burris. Latimer Burris is here. Madison. Madison is here. Martinez Rutherford. Martinez Rutherford is here. Miadzi is excused. Rummel. Rummel is here. Tischler. Tischler is here. Revere.
Here.
Revere is here. Vitiver. Vitiver is here. Welia is here. Bennett. Bennett is here. Conklin. Conklin is here. Curry. Curry is here. Duncan. Duncan is here. Evers. Evers is here. Field. Field is here. Madam Mayor for quorum.
Thank you. Our first orders of business today are honoring resolutions, but before we begin, let me just say briefly that it has been an honor to serve with all of you. I appreciate your service to your constituents and to our community as a whole. And for those of you who are continuing, I look forward to working with you for at least another year. And for those of you who are stepping down from this body, I hope that you will continue to find ways to work in our community, whether that is through committee service or other volunteer efforts or the work that you do every day. And please know that the city's doors are always open to you. Once an alder, always an alder. And we appreciate your participation in this body and know that you will find ways to continue to be engaged with your community as you go forward. So thank you all. It's been an honor and a pleasure to serve with you. Our first item is Legistar 87875, honoring the public service of Alder Juliana Bennett. And I will turn first to Alder Conklin, I believe.
Whereas Alder Juliana Rose Bennett is a boss, a queen, a baddie, a goddess, living legend, social justice warrior, Yimby, tree hugger, young master of the municipal arts, sergeant of vibes, commissioner of the IRO, ambassador of respect, the fire starter, and the fire extinguisher. And whereas Alder Bennett is a daughter, a sister, a cousin, a niece, a peer, a friend, a mentee, a mentor, a colleague, a Badger alum, a full-time employee, a part-time employee, and a human. And whereas Alder Bennett began her lifelong commitment to public service as a student activist during the Black Lives Matter movement. And
whereas Alder Amani loves Alder Bennett because whereas Alder Bennett leads with confidence and integrity, has a useful spirit, believing deeply that together we can make real change and impact people's lives. Whereas Alder Bennett worked alongside the community, her colleagues, made a meaningful impact in the city of Madison in the areas of housing, which is number one, transportation, public safety, supporting survivors, and fair representation. Whereas Alder Bennett could spend this entire resolution, if we wanted to stay until 12 o'clock at night, detailing how amazing she is. Yet, she remains grounded and has humaneness and encourages anyone interested in learning about her accomplishment to simply look at her record.
And whereas Alder Bennett is internally grateful to all of those who have supported her throughout this journey, her friends, her family, her dad, her colleagues, her constituents, her neighbors, her community, and her city, through the flaws, the missteps, the powerful steps forward, the tears, the laughs, and all of the ways this job humbles any inflated sense of ego. And now, therefore, it be resolved that Alder Bennett reminds us that despite the constant truth that she is beautiful, smart, and important, she is also human. And you are also human. May we all offer each other a little bit more grace and humility for being simply human. Be it further resolved that Alder Bennett's term began April of 2021 in the thick of COVID and a global racial uprising and concludes in April of 2025 in the midst of a housing and budget crisis. Be it finally resolved that while the City of Madison will always be facing some sort of crisis, some more pressing than others, we are encouraged to continue being bold and audacious while never losing sight of who we are.
Thank you, Alders. We'll take that as moved by Alder Conklin and seconded by Alder Latimer Burris. And speaking to the motion is Alder Figueroa Cole.
Don't do that. Please. Okay. So today I have the privilege to honor not just a public servant, but a sister, and a friend and a force of nature who has left an undeniable mark on this council over the past 4 years. First time I spoke to Alder Bennett was back in 2021, our first run for office. Because of COVID-19, we could not meet in person, so she called me. We talked about the campaign, her life experience, losing her mother at a young age, her work ethic, and her passion for social justice. She sounded like an old soul with experiences foreign to someone my age. But then she asked me if I knew this app called Venmo. I rolled my eyes, and a short and direct set of words came out of it, followed by our loud laughter. That shared laughter and understanding have been a constant in our friendship and relationship. Serving alongside Alder Bennett has been a journey that has turned into a sisterhood of deep respect, shared purpose, and values. From late night calls to quiet moments of encouragement, we have supported each other through the highs and lows of public life. Juliana, your strength has lifted me more than I can count, and your courage has inspired me to regain my own voice. When you speak about housing, about density, dignity, and access, it is not coming from a distant policy nerd, but from someone who has felt the impact of exclusion and housing insecurity and wants something better for all of us. Your passionate plea is a vision of the future of this growing city, a call for belonging in a place that is not so loving of a Black woman, and a blueprint for real change. Thank you, Juliana. I don't want to regret not taking this moment to acknowledge the whole sisterhood. A sisterhood of 4, Alder Bennett, Alder Conklin, Alder Curry, and I. We started this together. You have enriched my life, your voices, your truths, your fire, it matters. Your legacy is in every corner of this community, every conversation you started, every young girl who sees herself in you, and every neighborhood where you intentionally prioritize marginalized humans and make them feel seen and heard. Together, we've shown that people from different walks of life, cultural backgrounds, perspectives, and even languages can achieve great things when working together towards common goals. Thank you for showing us what brave, compassionate leadership looks like. Thank you for your friendship, your trust, and our sisterhood. You have made my life, my family's life, and this city better. Yesterday, when Jael asked if today would be emotional, I responded, I will miss you. My experience these past 2 years tells me that the bond we form as public servants will continue. For you, our home, for all of you, our home has a revolving door where the gringo and I will always welcome you. Thank you. He liked that, by the way. Thank you for all your service. I'll see you soon at the beginning of our next journey. Love you, Mama.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Curry?
How do I go after that? Juliana Rose, what a resolution. I wrote some words, but they don't seem fitting right now, so I hope you all can bear with me as I go off the cuff. But Juliana Rose is dynamic. This is a full circle moment. I'm pretty sure that most of you don't know this because of how close we have appeared as a sisterhood, but also as colleagues. In 2021, I supported Juliana's opponent for this race. And so this full circle moment shows that politics can be a game, and you win some and you lose some. But in this, I gained a sister, I gained an ally, and honestly, a little sister that I used to ask for, but I didn't ask for in this instance, but it's solidified. Some things about Juliana. So I was starstruck when I found out how old she is. We're not that far in age, so let's not get too beside ourselves. But the depth, the knowledge, the intensity, and the passion that Juliana exhibits towards everyday life, but policy, is not something I was thinking about when I was 18, 19, 20. Today, I just asked her, when do you turn 30? Not for another 5 years. And so, Juliana, your leadership on council has represented a new approach, and it's been with zeal, boldness, and wit that pushed and challenged even those of us who call ourselves your sisters and family. But you've been extremely successful, and you've prevailed. And while there's an intimacy among this body, I don't think even folks that we've served with, let alone the public, know how much you have weathered through these last 4 years personally. And you have continued to show up time and time again. And I admire your strength. I admire your tenacity. I admire how you grip the grain unapologetically, which I wish I had known that we could write our resolutions like that, but that is a testament of speaking your truth. And the truth is that policy did not make you who you are, you made policy better. And as young black women advancing in this world, I know we were taught by our elders, stay in a child's place. You need to give respect to earn respect. And while I didn't always agree with the path that you chose, I always looked at you in awe when you spoke your truth, and you spoke your truth to power. You're a champion for success. I admire you so much. I actually don't think I'll miss, because I think you'll keep it up. You're the alder who called from the field when you ran into folks experiencing houselessness. JL, what do I do? Where can I send this person? What's a resource right now? Two, talking about womanhood and experiencing professionalism as young black women in the cities that we were born and raised in that weren't always friendly to us. So while there are so many policy accomplishments and things that I know that you will elaborate on and that will be your legacy ingrained in public record, I want to honor you for seeing us, for seeing yourself, and for being so vulnerable with all your unapologetic truths. And I know this isn't the end of your leadership. I look forward to seeing what you accomplish in the future. You are my sister, you are my family, and I love you. Congratulations.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Bennett?
Oh. Give me a second. I gotta boot up my computer. I wrote the thing. Thank you. Okay, sorry, just give me a minute. Thank you so much. So, at one of the last council meetings, Matt Tucker, love him, said something like, "Aw, I feel like I watched you grow up and now I'm sending you off to college." And you know, this does feel like a little bit of a graduation, though I'd argue I'm not going to college. We're graduating from the University of Wisconsin-Madison School of Municipal Drama with a certificate in late night referrals and a 1,000-page thesis on why did this take 3 hours. But truthfully, I have been preparing for this speech for about a year. And by preparing, I mean delivering very, very fiery rants in my shower, many of which were directed at some of you here, who shall remain nameless. But after 4 years of being one of the longest talkers on council, know you love that. It's hard to feel those send-off vibes. Like, I still got a pile of dirty dishes in my sink, and they're kind of disgusting right now. We have work in the morning, time with friends, with my dad. Thankfully, a little less time with you. So somewhere between those dishes and the inbox, I've been sitting with the duality of this moment. And the duality brings me to 3 words that have really stuck with me that I think have been said over the past few weeks and even today, being change, respect, and legacy. Change was the reason why I ran. My slogan was real activism, real change. And yes, we made a lot of real changes, but I was not prepared for how this job would change me, how you all would change me. 4 years ago, I was an accounting major, and I had an internship at PricewaterhouseCoopers, one of the big 4 accounting firms in New York. And by now, I was supposed to be wearing exclusively suits, ranking in 6 figures, walking my golden doodle named Charlie through my penthouse skyline apartment. Sorry, Dad, that didn't happen yet. But instead, we're here in Madison, where the skyline can't rise above 160 feet or so. We talk about sidewalks and chickens and municipal finance. So respect is a funny word. It's something that I've really hated hearing. And many of you know, I've had a very vocal and very active disrespect in this body and particularly towards this system. And a lot of that, to be honest, is still true. And it's like the duality of this. Like, we refer things to committee for no reason. We make staff write 40-page Madison-specific reports for all the problems that we already understand. We prioritize the loudest people in the room over the ones that don't have the time to be here. And it's so frustrating how we bury hard truths in bureaucracy. And it hurts the people that we're supposed to serve. But also, I've grown to respect the people behind the system. Most of you, even the ones I disagree with and know that I'm most of the time very, very right, most of you really care. You show up, you do the work, you try, and that's what changed me and changed Madison. I remember a very specific example of this, and some of you might remember 4 years ago when I was sitting in that seat over there, the District 8 Alder seat, yelling across at this District 2 Alder about the Lamp House, and I gave this big dramatic speech about protecting the ghost of a dead old rich white man. And 4 years later, I've learned something. Maybe that ghost is worth protecting, and maybe we can build a house around him. So, along the way, I learned that little quips like, this cop's grant is poppycock. And my infamous eye roll weren't enough to make real change happen. And change happens through the unglamorous work, negotiating, listening, holding boundaries, letting go. So I love this city, and I'm frustrated by it. And it's that duality of pushing the system and respecting the people inside it. So that brings me to legacy, and I know I'm probably talking a long time, but I know most of us didn't run for this plaque right here. We ran to make a change. And the legacy we have doesn't live in ceremonies like this. It lives in infrastructure, in policy, in impact. Most people won't go through that huge binder of former alders from the last 100 and something years that's sitting in the council office somewhere collecting dust. And if they do, like the policy nerd that I am, they likely won't remember our names. But our legacy will live on in the homes we approve, the sidewalks we voted for, the buses we funded. And if we do our jobs well, people's lives will be easier and they won't even know it was us. So, a few parting words of advice. Don't let perfect be the enemy of the good. Our process is long and detailed and sometimes helpful, but often very exclusionary and not designed for the average person. Listen to your instincts, and no, that doesn't mean, questioning a developer for like 20 minutes and then everyone walks out on you. It means doing the right thing. The politics will figure itself out. Don't worry. It'll happen. And also, very, very importantly, Jeanette is right, like 95% of the time on most things. So if you want to avoid, I told you so, mija, make sure you have your facts straight. Couple last things on housing. We need to stop acting like development is someone else's problem. Epic employees are coming. They want to live on the west side. Pick a damn cornfield and build a community for them that they want to live in so that they stop outbidding families for housing. More students are coming. They want to live downtown. Build housing in obvious places like Mythilandia, Mansion Hill. We can't afford to fight over simple stuff anymore. It's time to plan like we believe in the future of this city. And finally, empower yourselves. I keep joking that the only thing I'm gonna miss about council is the pay, which is ironic because I've been complaining about that from day one. But this job is only going to get harder. Make space for the reason why you ran instead of getting sucked up into every single fire that happens. This is a full-time job. It should come with full-time pay and full-time staff for each alder. People complain that the mayor is calling all the shots. Well, guess what? She's the only full-time elected official with full-time staff in the city of Madison. Of course she's leading the budget. Of course she's driving the agenda. You want better constituent engagement? Empower yourselves. You want to handle the budget, housing, climate, transportation? Empower yourselves. You want to serve this city the way it deserves? Empower yourselves. So, aside from missing my little stipend, I have just a few quick thank yous. My dad, thank you for being there. Y'all don't know how many times my dad has called me during a council meeting and been like, Juliana, please come here, I miss you. And I'm so glad that I get to go home to you. And I'm so glad you're still alive. Thank you to my sisters. My sisters, my friends, my neighbors, colleagues, and staff. And thank you, Matt Tucker. Go, Matt. He's real as hell. My sisterhood, Jaji, JL, and Nikki. And my predecessors, Max Prestigiacomo, Scott Resnick, Austin King, and Patrick Heck. And my successors, who are both here, MGR and Will, you go. Go, Glen Coco. You're going to do great. Thank you to my constituents in the city of Madison. Truly, thank you. And lastly, I'm going to miss this. I'm going to miss my favorite little 6:30 Tuesday night telenovela special full of plot twists and drama and my favorite characters. I'll love you. I'll miss you. I'll just not miss the inbox. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Bennett, for your service. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any objection to recording a unanimous vote in favor? Seeing no objection, we'll record a unanimous vote in favor. Item 2 is Legistar 87787, commending and thanking Alder Marcia Rummel for her dedicated service to the constituents in District 6 and to the city of Madison. And I will turn first to Alder Martinez Rutherford.
Whereas Alder Marcia Rummel was elected to the Madison Common Council on April 18th, 2023, and whereas Alder Rummel served as on the Madison Arts Commission, Finance Committee, Madison Metropolitan Sewage District, Public Market Development Committee, and Urban Design Commission, and whereas Alder Rummel represented the new District 6 that covers both sides of the isthmus, worked with neighbors to address pedestrian and bike safety concerns, and championed the state's Safe Streets initiative on Baldwin Street that resulted in the installation of our four-way stop signs at East Mifflin Street and East Main Street. And whereas Alder Rummel engaged stakeholders as she shepherded the approval of 5 development proposals, resulting in 835 units of housing for 4 projects providing affordable units, and helped the Salvation Army move forward on building the new women's and family shelter at 630 East Washington Avenue, and fine-tuned the RFP for the Brayton lot at Block 113, and
whereas Alder Rummel worked with residents, stakeholders, service providers, business owners, and city staff to address the needs of homeless residents in her district, and whereas Alder Rummel advocated for strengthening the protection of street trees during the update to the Complete Green Streets Guide, which resulted in new guidelines to enhance canopy trees, and whereas Alder Rummel provided a deep dive into the 2025 budget using her blog and organizing a webinar to highlight the financial constraints facing the city and the cuts that the mayor and council would have to implement if the November 5th, 2024 referendum had failed. And whereas Alder Rummel continued to work on police accountability by passing an amendment to the 2025 operating budget to restore funding for the Office of the Independent Monitor, and successfully reconsidered the elimination of the Public Safety Review Committee. And
Whereas Alder Rummel sponsored resolutions to uplift the voice of Madison residents to the federal level, including calling for a ceasefire in Gaza, condemning Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, calling on the Federal Housing Authority to make it easier to build condos, and opposing Social Security Administration office closures and cuts to Medicaid. And whereas Alder Rummel knows the November U.S. elections has sent shock waves through our community and urges Madison residents to be part of a monumental and unified effort of the grassroots resistance, civil liberties, and popular movement forces opposing the corporate far right and federal attacks on our rights, opposing the Gaza genocide and illegal definitions and deportations of students, faculty, I'll add people, and university campuses, assault on immigrants and trans, non-binary communities, and the climate change threat from intensified fossil fuel extraction, and
to her Alder Whereas Alder Rummel, through her hard work and dedication to her Alder duties, has faithfully and with honor served her constituents and the city of Madison. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Madison Common Council commend and thank Alder Marcia Rummel for her dedicated service to her constituents in District 6 and the city of Madison.
Thank you, Alders. We'll take that as moved by Alder Martinez Rutherford and seconded by Alder Field. And to speak to the motion, Alder Latimer Burris.
Yes, so I have my, Alda Rummel has been my informal mentor. She took me up, I didn't even ask, she took me up. And one of the things that, she does well is mentor by example. So I have my notes about Alda Rummel just down to one notebook. She said one day to me, Amani, why don't you just write it all in one notebook instead of coming in with these big binders and going through papers and everything? And she showed me. So she is special. So two things is I'm gonna also, like Alder Curry, wing it a bit because I wanna just talk from the heart and soul. So Alder Rummel, the first time we met was not on city council. I think I was running for another office, and one of her friends said, you should call Alder Rummel, and I did. And we were on the phone for a couple of hours, I think. A couple of hours. And with that, I learned she is an incredible human being first and loves human beings always. So I'm going to speak about Alda Rummel on two things. One is as a mentor, and then I'm going to switch to what I was inspired by this morning, which is love is, but I'm going to say leadership is or is not. All right? So Rummel is a mentor that teaches you not what she thinks that you need to know that will serve her, but what you actually need to know to serve. She does it with kindness and forgiveness and by example, and even in the way that she speaks. One of the things I noticed about Alda Rummel as she's mentoring us just by being is when she takes a pause and she says, well, I don't know. Then you know the next thing that flows is what she actually thinks. But she does it in such a graceful way that you learn. It's almost like Barack Obama used to say about Wynton Marsalis, I think I'm saying it right. It's not really the music that you're hearing, but the pauses that matter. Along with Alder Verveer, Alda Rummel really are the parents, and not by age, but in wisdom of the most diverse council that you will ever see in 125 years. And one of the things is as I learn more about Alda Rummel and go to different events, I learned that her and Alder Verveer would have late night conversations about council and how we're gonna rein in the kids so that we, as a diverse council, can make a difference and we can get on the same page and we can love each other and we can respect each other. So I would not be still here as an alder without Alda Rummel. She has listened to me cry, laugh, be so pissed where I go on for like an hour and she's listening, and then she redirects me. And again, she redirects me in a way, true mentorship, of not what she thinks I need to know for herself, but in a way that makes me a better alder. So let me give you some examples of this. Rummel is patient. We've already talked about that. She has listened to all of us. I know she has mentored other people. She is very kind, and even when it's a difficult situation, we wouldn't have gotten through public market. It would have not opened had she not interceded. She is not envious. She's not here for herself. She is not boastful. She is not pride. She is not self-seeking. She is one that shows you by example, and she's like a teacher that knows what you have and you have not done. So I want to give you an example of this. I had Hartmeyer, Oscar Mayer project in my district, and we all say we've read everything, right? We've read the plan and we know. Last summer, Alda Rummel called me and she said, I want you to meet with the guy who did the planning for this area. And like a good teacher, she didn't scold me when she realized Amani has not read this in depth at the level that I expect her to read it. She just said, I will see you next week. with the developers, and we will go through it page by page. And by the time she is done, I knew it, frontwards and backwards. She didn't scold me. She didn't say, oh, you didn't do the right thing. She showed me how to be better. She, as a mentor, is also very trustworthy. You tell her things, and she works behind the scenes to make things better because she wants this city to rejoice in the truth. She wants us to be protected. She wants us to persevere. And so a lot of times people talk about all of her skills as if you go to her blog, it's going to be more in-depth than anybody. She taught me how to think, not just from, a standpoint of, not from just a standpoint of you just read and then you decide, but what does that mean? Where are you going with that, Amani? How do you deep dive into situations? Who do you have to reach out to? That's another example of mentoring. She realized when I first came on that I was not reaching out to staff, and then she taught me how to reach out to staff. You call them, you ask them, where do I find this information? So for Rummel, she's one of the most beautiful people, human beings, not just as an alder, but as a person. And her 18 years has shaped this city as much as Alder Verveer. Our parents, the parents of diversity have shaped this city 100%. And they've taken us in, and they've tried to work with us, and I know I'm rambling, it doesn't matter. I'm okay, because I'm here with Marcia. I might even talk longer than Alder Bennett, but she's made a difference. And I know that she's done it for me, and I know that she's done it for so many others. So I want to leave what I'm saying with two quotes that kind of popped in this morning to me when I was thinking about Alder Rummel. One of them is by Kevin Bacon, and he says, if you want to stick out, you have to have thick skin because you're going to get your blank kicked. And so whenever I was feeling like I can't do this, or, we work too many hours, we don't get paid enough, she would remind me by example, saying things like, I worked a full-time job and I never missed council. I worked a full-time job and I read everything. She raised the standards. The other quote is by Amy Anderson that says, here's to strong women. And if you look around, we have a lot of strong women on this council. We have a strong woman mayor. May we know them, may we be them, and may we raise them. So thank you for raising this council for 18 years, and thank you for raising the most diverse council ever in the history of Madison, Wisconsin. I would bet in the history of the United States. We did not have this diversity for 120 years. It's just been the last 5 years or so that we've had it. And we will go on to do great things because of you, and we will learn, and hopefully one day we will be mentors, real mentors like you are. Thank you so much. I love you, and we all appreciate you, and you're going to be missed. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Field?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of quick words. So Marcia was teaching me about city government before I ever realized I might want to serve myself someday. My husband and I were District 6 residents during what I think was her 7th term on the council. And anybody interested in reading more about some of her work at that point, check out Legistar 65082, which was the last time around resolution that covered a broader window of her work and legacy for the East Side. But I wanted to share, too, that while I was a constituent of Marcia's and didn't know her personally yet, that time included the early days of the disruptions around the COVID-19 pandemic, when I really relied on Marcia's communications as a source of trusted and real information about how our community was navigating so much change. These days, Marcia has continued to teach me about city government, this time over Pinot Noir at the Weary Traveler, where we'll talk through big city projects to budget challenges to, I think we'll continue talking about covenants on properties and HOA rules and what that means as we tinker with zoning and try to add more housing supply to the city. But I just wanted to chime in and affirm that Marsh has been a steadfast and thoughtful voice of experience on this council, and I will always be grateful for her mentorship, her values-driven leadership, and her public service to our city. Thank you, Marcia.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Rummel?
Thank you, everyone. I didn't really prepare long remarks, so I'll spare you maybe, because, I have lots of ideas about things you should do, but I'm going to let you figure that out with the help of your constituents. Because actually, my constituents led me down pathways I did not expect to follow, or I didn't know that I would be following. And so I think you should always be open to, we all have our to-do lists when we set out, but sometimes people present you with other things that then you need to take up. So for this term, it was traffic safety and pretty much every third email I had was about some god dang intersection where something almost happened or did happen. And so, of course, we rely on our fabulous staff to help us, and they certainly did in this case. But I guess my big message is we have a fabulous staff, and they're here to help you. But they're not elected. You are elected. And if it was just up to them and the mayor, we wouldn't need a council. So we need to have you use your best judgment, because sometimes you might think your constituents are right, but sometimes you think maybe there's more to consider. And so it's your job to do that balancing and also to use your power. That's the thing I learned. Like, you're given a lot of power, which you can just defer and let somebody else's leadership guide you. But you can also use your power if you say, well, why are we doing this? And shouldn't this be different? I mean, I think we can see in previous councils how people, especially in the zoning world, decided to change and upend our zoning code. And you should feel like you could do that on whatever area it is that you discover might need your attention. And because that's why they elect you, to use your power and to use your best judgment. And then I would say, just get to know your colleagues. Don't assume that somebody's not going to be your friend or ally. They might not vote with you 87% of the time, but other times they're all going to vote the same. We're all on the same team here, although sometimes I think people forget that alders are part of the team, but I always think that alders are part of the team, and that you have an obligation to get to know your fellow alders and make sure you understand their perspective, even if you don't necessarily agree on every topic. And like others have spoken to this most diverse council in city history, I'm really honored to serve on it. When I first came on the council, I wrote it down somewhere, but it was not majority women, and there were no people of color. I mean, there had been in the past. It wasn't like it never had been, but I think it started to change in 2015, and when Alder Harrington McKinney and Alder Carter came on, but it's changed every year since then. And but a little step back, maybe this coming pause, but we'll see what that means. It doesn't mean we're not on the arc towards justice, as someone famous likes to say. So again, Alder Bennett mentioned like how easy it is to bury hard truths in bureaucracy. That's your job, not to just go freaking read the MGO, people. I didn't read them for a long time. Someone just refers to it and you go, oh, that's good. Go freaking read it, okay? Because, maybe before and after it, there's more things that you didn't know about. And so I think that's your job. You don't have to go read the whole thing because, oh my God, that's really a lot. But you can find out new things all the time. And just for the record, it's only been 16 years that I've been on the Common Council. I took 2 years off. So I started in 2007, and it's really been wonderful to serve with all of you and with the various three different mayors who actually served on the council with this mayor. So it's always interesting to see how people take up different roles. And Mayor, I think you've done a really good job as leading this body and leading staff, and in your vision, I think has really helped change the city. So again, I want to thank everyone, and as others people say, and as I'm going to say maybe for Alder Wahili, and Mayor, you start meetings about being kind. I think we should always start with assuming that you don't know everything, and that you might learn something, and that you just don't assume the worst about people, just assume the best, and then I think more likely you are to find the best. And I guess one more thing is just listen to your constituents. As I said, that you might not always agree with them and they with you, but they elect you, and that's why you're here. You're not here, you serve the whole city, but you serve your district. So just always try to do your best to reach out and connect with them. And that's why I like doing the blog. It's like, for a while, before COVID, we had a lot more face-to-face meetings, and so I would like click. If you showed up at one of my neighborhood meetings, I got your email, and I put it on my list. And so for a while, I had a really, really large list, but then people, I think, dropped off when they realized how much I made them read every week. But anyway, I think that if you can always get people to sign up for that, you can. Because you're going to tell them things they're not going to know about otherwise. And so many people come up to me and thank me for reading it. And I'm like, you read it? And I'm like, every word. I'm like, oh, okay, thank you. But anyway, so use all the things at your power to reach out, and we can always do better. And you have a lot of things facing us, as others have mentioned, housing, transportation, all the things that, money, the feds, what's going on with them, right? I don't know. I don't envy your coming up term, but I know that you'll do your best, and I want to thank you for your service.
Thank you, Alder. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any objection to recording a unanimous vote in favor? Seeing no objection, we'll record a unanimous vote in favor of item 2. Takes us to item 3, which is Legistar 87872, commending and thanking Alder Nasser Wahili for a dedicated service to the constituents in District 7 and to the city of Madison. And I'll turn first to Alder Duncan.
Whereas Alder Nasser Wahili was appointed to the Madison Common Council on November 17th, 2020, and elected to her first term on the Madison Common Council on April 20th, 2021. And to her second term on April 18th, 2023. And whereas Alder Wahili made history as the first Somali American and first Muslim woman to serve on the council, breaking barriers and inspiring future generations of leaders from underrepresented communities. And whereas Alder Wahili served on the Equal Opportunity Commission, Early Childhood Care and Education Committee, Transportation Commission, Committee on Aging, Economic Development Committee, Madison Area Transportation Planning Board, Sister City Collaboration Committee, Water Utility Board, Ad Hoc Redistricting Committee, President's Work Group to review and revise the Chief of Staff position description, Common Council Executive Committee, Ad Hoc Task Force on the Structure of City Government, Final Report Implementation Work Group, President's Work Group on Racial Justice, Anti-Racism and Equity, City County Homeless Issue Committee, and Sustainable Madison Committee. Whereas Alder Wahili worked in partnership with District 7 residents and the Park Division to create Country Grove Park, a space that fosters connection, recreation, and joy for families and residents of all ages through her budget amendment of $1.8 million to build the community park shelter. And
whereas Alder Wahili successfully proposed a budget amendment of $225,000 to improve and extend the pathway through Manchester Park, which will increase connectivity and accessibility for area residents. Whereas Alder Wahili sponsored an amendment to the 2023 capital budget to appropriate $300,000 of general fund GO borrowing to support graduates of the Associates in Commercial Real Estate program with pre-development costs. And whereas Alder Wahili chaired the president's work group on racial justice, anti-racism, and equity, which focused on providing recommendations on participatory budgeting frameworks and improvement to the city board, commission, and committee structure. And whereas Alder Wahili prioritized active dialogue through community engagement and developments coming to District 7 and worked to facilitate the communication of information to build trust and transparency in local government. And whereas Alder Wahili's leadership extended beyond legislation as she regularly engaged with residents, hosted monthly lunch and learn forums, and collaborated with city department heads and common council staff about city resources for the community, including topics such as winter operations, economic development, street operations, transportation, and community development. And whereas Alder Wahili demonstrated a deep commitment to strengthening local democracy and promoting a respectful and collaborative civic culture on the Common Council, notably introducing a code of conduct for the Common Council, a landmark effort to promote and foster civility, constructive dialogue, and accountability among elected officials, setting a standard for how public officials engage with one another, city staff, and the community. And
whereas Alder Wahili, throughout her tenure, was a steadfast advocate for equity, inclusion, and community engagement, working to ensure that all voices, especially those historically marginalized, were heard and represented in city policy. And whereas Alder Wahili led and supported numerous community initiatives, including efforts to improve neighborhood safety, expand access to city services, and promote economic development opportunities for underrepresented communities in both funding and policy, exemplifying her dedication to access to equitable services for all. And whereas Alder Wahili extended her leadership beyond Madison by serving on the board of directors for the Wisconsin League of Municipalities, ensuring that the voices and concerns of local governments, especially diverse and growing communities, were represented at the state level. And whereas Alder Wahili leaves behind a legacy of bold leadership, courage, collaborative spirit, and deep-rooted care for her community that will continue to shape the future of District 7 and the entire city. And she will be remembered as a bridge builder and a true public service. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and common council of the city of Madison express their sincere appreciation of Alder Nazra Wahili for her outstanding service and commitment to the residents of District 7 and to the city as a whole. Be it further resolved, the mayor and common council of the city of Madison hereby recognize Alder Wahili's vital contributions to both local and statewide municipal leadership and wishes her continuing success in all future endeavors, recognizing her as a lifelong advocate and visionary leader in our community.
Thank you, Alders. We'll take that as moved by Alder Duncan and seconded by Alder Knox. And I will ask Alder Latimer Burris to speak first.
Okay, here I am again. Okay, so couple of things about Alder Wahili. And again, I asked, I just sat with myself and, said, okay, God, what shall, how does it land on me? And it was interesting with Rummel, with Love Is. I think with Alder Wahili, I would say her love is, leadership is, loving leadership is that she's teaching us how to never fail. She's teaching us to be complete. She is teaching us to have faith and to work together and have hope and love, and really to leave our childhood behind us, because we are building a better childhood for others. The city is about building a better space for other people. And so I think as a person, the quote, well, first I think I'll back up and I'll go about her background. First of all, I'm just amazed that Alder Wahilier is who she is. When I think about where she started, coming to America 30 years ago, and to be in this position, and to be operating in a totally different language on the level of all of us. We've got PhDs, we've got law degrees, we have bachelor's degrees, and some of us have a depth of experience in life. And she let us know that you should be proud of who you are. Again, that goes to the diversity, equity, inclusion, and she means it to the core. And then as you get to know her, you're going to know about her family and how the choices that she's made, and how she's pushed her kids, sometimes hard and sometimes as a mom backing out, to do better. And the result is she has doctors and lawyers, and they're going to make a difference. She also, as a person, when you get to know her, you know the depth of her relationship with her husband and the respect that they have. And you get to a point where you can be vulnerable and ask questions to understand her differences. One of the things that I learned as a leader, she is very direct with her feedback. She's very direct with her questioning. She's very direct with you thinking differently, with you not getting stuck in a box and just going along because it is what we are supposed to do. She is the one that will ask a question that nobody wants to ask or get me to do it. She has impeccable executive skills. She knows how to interact. She knows how to collaborate. She knows how to challenge the system. She knows the big picture and what is missing. She knows why the table here in Madison is inequitable. So the quote that hit me today for Alder Wahilier comes out of post-traumatic slave syndrome. And I'm going to read the quote, but I'm going to first say that she wants us, she demands us to notice race, notice orientation, notice gender, notice class, notice neurodivergency, notice status, notice religion to make and build a better city. If one thing that she did in her leadership with a bunch of us is to fortify us as who we are, and it is okay. She would always say to me, Amani, you are a Black woman. And all that means. And we have a bunch of Black women on here, and we're all different. So nobody can get, people get kind of lost, like, people send me an email. I'm like, oh no, that's the other Black girl. There's 5 of us. Okay, she made the space for us to be who we are, just as we are. So the quote that comes to mind or landed on me is, racism is one of the most baneful and persistent evils and is a major barrier to peace. And here we are as a diverse council, and you guys will continue, hopefully will continue on that work. Because I think what happened is there's an undercurrent that's happened with council that we're working through as a diverse body. And I hope that we will continue to do that. This is what Noswood would push us to do, to get beyond this outrageous violation of dignity that goes against the human beings, that retards the unfoldment of boundless potential. Okay, this city has boundless potential. It corrupts, racism corrupts, it blights human progress, it recognizes the weakness of mankind, and it is a universal problem or issue to be overcome. And so Nasra, sometimes you didn't want to pick up the phone because you know she was going to go deep with you, or sometimes she invites you out for a little not a drink, but she wanted to go to Liberty Station and have a little something, and we're going to go deep. And she's going to ask you questions and make you think deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. That is why she wrote that code, the code of conduct that we will one day live up to. That is leadership. And she did it against the grain when it wasn't popular, when people would love to throw her under the bus, when people were being Islamophobic, and all sorts of stuff. But she kept coming back with one thing that I think both of our mentors have, which is grace. They both have discipline. They both have grace. So for Nazra, she was my peer mentor, while Rummel was my parent mentor. And I appreciate, and I know we appreciate, and her constituent appreciates all the things she's done, including the Lunch and Learn. If you ever went to it, there was 30, 40 people there. And they were learning about how the city works and how they can affect change and actually how they can benefit and grow. She was very much into businesses and growing small business. So we will miss you, Nazra, Alder Wahiliye, and we can say we were there and take the lessons that she delivered to us directly. Thank you for your work.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Rummel?
Thank you, Mayor. Alder Wahili and I served when she was first appointed to fill Donna Moreland's seat when Donna got kicked upstairs in the Evers administration. So she started serving in November of 2020, but it was during COVID. So although we're seatmates, I don't really feel like connected with her deeply, but we served together, and then I stepped off the council. And then with redistricting, and I learned that Alder Benford was not going to live in District 6 anymore. I went searching for a replacement. Well, I obviously found myself, but in the meantime, before I had decided, I was thinking about it, and somehow she heard some rumor. You know how you all speak about stuff and tell each other things? Well, she called me up out of the blue and said, "Oh, I'm so glad you're running for Alder again." I'm like, "Well, I hadn't decided." And she's like, "Oh," and she went on to tell me about why she thought it would be really important if I ran again, and all the reasons what she thought I would bring to the office. And so she said something to me. We just started discussing that thing that we all don't talk about aloud, especially on the floor of the council, is that I'd been a member of Progressive Dane since, 2007. And she's like, she didn't clearly have much use for Progressive Dane. And I said, "Well, I'm in Progressive Dane, right?" She's like, "Yeah, but maybe I need to learn some more about it." I'm like, "Oh, okay, that sounds fair. I can work with that." And anyway, I'm not saying that she would help decide, but she certainly made me realize, okay, maybe it would be a good thing if I ran again. And that's the kind of thing about Alder Wahili that is so impressive. She definitely calls people up and tells them what she thinks they should do, apparently. I don't think it's unusual what she did with me. But I think it's part of her ethos of leading with equity. She said that so many times I can almost write it down as her mantra, and kindness. And I think I felt that for the last term with her. She's so respectful and wants to know what you think, and she leads with kindness. And I think it's a real skill that we should, we should have more of. And the other thing about her is, we talk about the diversity, but she brings a point of view that was really new in some ways, is the immigrant. We've had immigrants serve on the council before, but none that I really had deep discussions with. But I admired learning from you, Nazra, based on seeing things from your perspective in the world, seeing why you came to the United States. It's easy for me to be cynical about growing up as a somewhat quote-unquote privileged white person in Chicago in the United States, but to see why anyone would want to come here, and there's a real valid reason for it. And it's not like I didn't know that, but seeing it from your family's perspective was really important to me. And seeing it through your eyes as an African woman, an immigrant, a Muslim, especially the Muslim, because, I'm not really religious. So I know there are holidays and that we don't do things during those holidays, but really going a month with Ramadan, that is so much power and strength in that that like sometimes she'd say, well, I had to leave because of, I was not feeling well because I hadn't eaten all day. I'm like, oh my God, I of course ate all day, right? But anyway, that's just our different perspectives. And then I also learned because you bring that perspective to your activism. And so, for example, you were the leader on the ceasefire resolution we did on Gaza. I mean, I worked with you and we worked together, but you were the lead sponsor in December of 2023, where we really worked hard to get that thing passed. We really had to work through some of the concerns in the Jewish community about making sure the language was, reflective of anti-Semitism and all the issues that, about what was going on on October 7th. But you did that, and during the student encampment in May, you went there and worked with students and supported that effort. And there's just so many other ways that you just sort of led by showing up. And, I think one of the best examples is the Lunch and Learn program that you initiated. And, you did it also with Alders District 1 and District 20, where you just did topical things. And I think I went to one, but I kept thinking, I should do that, but I never quite got it together to do that. But especially doing it for Alders in a little area, like, the District 12, District 6, District 15 Alders could have stuff that everyone would care about that was bigger than just the locale. And that might be a useful thing for Alders to keep doing. And I think you brought that to us, and I thank you. And one of the other things that you did was, you were a board member of the League of Wisconsin Municipalities, which, while, we may or may not be able to afford their dues, I think your participation in previous alders before you who did serve on their board could bring, but you brought it back to us. You brought back some of the work they were doing and informed us about what they did. And I thank you for that. And again, I got to know you better when you decided to run for assembly. And I'm sorry that you didn't win, but you were running code against an incumbent, even though it was with redistricting. So, but you did a great job, and I enjoyed working with you, trying to help get your voice into your lit. And having listened to you for so many months and talked to you, I just, I'm a big fan. And again, I admired learning from you, and I thank you for your service.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Wahili?
Well, thank you. First of all, I just want to thank you all. Thank you, Alder Duncan. Thank you, Alder Knox and Alder Tischler and Alder Amani and Ramal for reading and speaking to my resolution. I don't have my video because I'm in Nairobi and my internet is not very strong, so I apologize, you can't see me, but I'm crying and I'm very emotional and very humble to be here and stand before you as I do this with much appreciation, a deep sense of humbleness, gratitude. This is because serving as an alder for District 7 and the city of Madison has truly been one of my life's greatest honor. This opportunity has enabled me to serve with purpose, lead with integrity, and participate in community activity, whether it's listening or learning. I made this commitment on my first day in the office, and it was to build empathetic bridges where there's gap existed and make sure that each and every person of the community is not only heard, but also valued. And Alder Ramal and Alder Amani spoke to that. I don't have to repeat it. This commitment has always been truly during my term, no matter what commitment was it like, tackling public safety concerns, advocating for affordable housing, working towards strengthening the local economy, or fighting for social justice and racial justice. I have managed to remain grounded in one belief, that leadership always starts with the people and should stem from compassion. This journey was not one I traveled alone, and I want to thank the incredible city staff, the incredible council staff, my fellow colleagues, council members, you, Mayor, and all the community members who worked tirelessly alongside me. To my family, who gave me unwavering support and love, and they gave me the strength, in fact, to show up every single day with purpose and dedication to serve. Always talking about the challenges and the aspiration and the opportunity my role offered. And lastly, to every single resident in District 7 that called or emailed me, and those who stopped me at the grocery stores to share their concerns and ideas. Thank you. Your engagement made me a better public servant. I'm filled with hope that seeds we have planted that will continue to grow. While I may be stepping away from this seat, but I'm not stepping away from this community. Madison is my home. Madison is my family. And Madison is my destiny. My dedication to public service remains as strong as ever, and I look forward to continuing this journey. Most of my colleagues who are not coming back talked about the culture of the council, the goodness, the badness, and in between. And I just don't want to reiterate what some of my colleagues has expressed or shared, but I want to share a few high points with the new alders and the returning alders to renew their conviction to serve this Madison. Congratulations on your new role as you become the alder for this Madison Common Council. As you begin this meaningful journey of public service, I want to share a few reflections that guided me during my time on the Madison Common Council. Principles that I believe are essential in building trust, fostering change, and honoring the voice of those who we serve. Although I may have some kind of negative experiences, but this is not the place or the time. This is a time of celebration, and I really want to embrace this. 3 highlights I want to share is make sure you renew your intention as the Madison Common Council. Serve with purpose. Never forget why you chose to lead. Whether it was to address equity, uplift marginalized voices, protect our environment, or build safer neighborhood. Anchor yourself in that purpose. Let it guide your decision, your priorities, and your resilience when the work becomes challenging. Purpose will keep you grounded in a moment of doubts and will remind you that your role is bigger than any single vote or meeting. It's about shaping a more just future for everyone. Secondly, lead with integrity. Integrity is the most valuable currency or key as a public servant. Be honest, transparent, and consistent in your action and decision-making. Don't be afraid to ask tough questions. Although Latimer Board indicated that I asked tough questions. Ask questions and challenge the system that may no longer serve our community. Make sure your commitment is to do what's right, even when it's not easy or popular. You can stay alone, but you believe what's right. And finally, listen with empathy. True leadership starts with listening. Show up with compassion, humility, and willingness to understand perspective different from your own. As stated from my colleagues, we are a diverse council, and each one of us carry different perspective, different opinion, different lived experience, different experience. But sometimes policies are not abstract. They impact real people with real lives. Let empathy shape the way you lead, communicate, and make decisions. Be accessible, be human, Allow yourself to develop relationship with your colleagues and not to believe in the narrative of building relationship based on us versus them. You might be told that don't go with this group or this group. Just try to get to know others, have proximity, learn from them, listen with them, eat with them, laugh with them, be angry at them. And that will change your trajectory as a colleague. This role is not just about governance. It's about relationship. Build them intentionally. Listen deeply, speak courageously, and always remember the power of this work lies with proximity, partnership with people, and serving with empathy. Congratulations on your new chapter for those who are new. I'm cheering for you and remain hopeful for the future we'll help create. Please don't hesitate to reach out. Happy to connect for coffee, and I hope I can be any assistance to you. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, my colleagues, and thank you to the city staff for putting up with me, putting up with the council, and I appreciate the opportunity to serve my district. And thank you, District 7. Thank you, my family, my friends, Alder Rummel and Alder Latimer Burris, Alder Duncan, Alder Harrington McKinney, all of you, Tischler, Vivier, all of you. I'm happy to mention all of you, but I want to thank you, all of you, from the bottom of my heart for your friendship and for your dedication. And by the way, Juliana, you look beautiful. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Alder. It's been, you're getting a round of applause in the room, Alder. And safe travels. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any objection to recording unanimous vote in favor? Seeing no objection, recording unanimous vote in favor. Item 4 is Legistar 87839, commending and thanking Alder Nikki Conklin for her dedicated service to the constituents in District 9 and to the city of Madison. Alder Curry?
Whereas Alder Nikki Conklin was elected to the Madison Common Council on April 20th, 2021, and whereas Alder Conklin served on the Sister City Collaborative Committee, Board of Public Works, Sustainable Madison Committee, Common Council Executive Committee, Community Development Division Conference Committee, President's Work Group on Racial Justice, Anti-Racism, and Equity, Community Development Block Grant Committee, Landlord and Tenant Issues Committee, and Disability Rights Commission. And whereas Alder Conklin supported the creation of and successfully sponsored additional investments in the Community Alternative Response Emergency Services, or CARES initiative. Alder Conklin also supported the Men's Permanent Homeless Shelter. In addition, she helped to add millions of dollars to the Affordable Housing Fund during her time on the Common Council. And whereas Alder Conklin worked closely with staff, committees, and the public on major transportation policy initiatives, including Bus Rapid Transit, Transit Network Redesign, Vision Zero, Transportation Demand Management Program, Transit-Oriented Development, Safe Streets Madison, and Complete Green Streets. And
Alder Conklin, in close collaboration with City of Madison staff, has led a robust and inclusive community engagement process to develop the Sauk Creek Corridor Plan. The city has invested nearly 3,000 hours of staff time, a total of $318,800, comprised of $162,800 in consultant services and $156,000 in staff payroll, making this one of the most comprehensive planning efforts undertaken in recent years by the City of Madison and the Common Council. And whereas Alder Conklin and city staff have demonstrated an unwavering commitment to transparency and public involvement, hosting 6 public informational hearings, 3 open houses, and 7 media interviews while distributing over 29,000 postcards to ensure widespread community awareness and participation. And based on community input during the approval process, Alder Conklin amended the resolution to include, whereas the city will minimize rip-rap bank stabilization and use more environmentally sensitive nature-based solutions where feasible during the design process. And
whereas the resulting Sauk Creek Corridor Plan will serve as a strategic framework guiding future planning, design, and construction phases of the Greenway. Each phase of construction will include its own dedicated public engagement process to incorporate community input on detailed design elements, continuing the city's commitment to inclusive and responsive planning. And whereas across all agencies, Alder Conklin maintain productive, collaborative, and respectful relationships with all city staff. And whereas Alder Conklin, through her hard work and dedication to her Alder duties, has faithfully and with honor served her constituents and the city of Madison. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and the common council commend and thank Alder Nikki Conklin for her dedicated service to her constituents in District 9 and the city of Madison.
Thank you, Alders. We'll take that as moved by Alder Curry and seconded by Alder Bennett. Alder Madison?
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I think mine will be just a little different because I just want to think about the Black girls. So oftentimes we don't get to see women in leadership positions that look like little Black girls. And if you know Nikki always come pretty fly, pretty dope, as you can see today with her earring queen earrings, which represents her district, District 9. But I just want to, so shout out to Nikki for showing up and being present for Black girls. So anybody who will stream this through eternity or who've come to a common council meeting and they happen to be little Black or brown girls, they got to see somebody who looks like them. And in the Wexford Ridge and the Tree Lane area and the high school over there are a ton of Black girls. Like, there are just a ton of Black kids. And oftentimes when we see ourselves represented, we don't oftentimes see ourselves represented in such a positive, dope light. Like, sometimes it's very stale, very generic, very almost like a muted kind of tone. But when you get to see somebody show up as themselves, like looking like themselves, looking like their constituents that they represent that we don't always see in this space, that's something to be commended. So I appreciate Nikki's leadership in the respect that, like me, I don't think Nikki code switches. I don't think I've ever seen you do that. And that's also something to be respected and not looked down upon, because again, when we get in these rooms, oftentimes Black folks, especially Black women, may feel the need to sort of like shrink themselves to be less ourselves, less culture, less representative of the people that look up to us. So I am thankful that I got to serve with someone who 24/7 remained herself, if that makes sense, and didn't change herself in order to fit in, but sort of made the institution change with, you know, like how it should represent you and folks who look like you. And it is my assumption that in the coming years, if not in this next election cycle, that we're likely going to see a younger Black woman say, you know what, I am here because I wanted to be like Nikki. Like, I am here because Nikki Conklin was at my school. Nikki Conklin was at the Loosier Center. Nikki Conklin was over at Tree Lane. Nikki Conklin is over there at Wexford. You know what I mean? Like, that's what we're going to hear. Like, most of us have heard people say, I want to be like, you know, whomever. But I'm looking forward to the day when a young Black woman says to us specifically, I am here because of Alder Nikki Conklin. And I feel firmly, strongly that we're going to hear it. The other thing I just want to say is that We get a ton of emails, y'all. And if you know me, you know I absolutely love the West Side. Not really, but the East Side. I just had to give y'all that one little piece. But I love the East Side, right? I may make fun of the West Side just because it's so dark over there, but it is very dark on the West Side. I'm just saying it's very dark. But the reason I'm talking about the West Side this one time is because I don't know a lot about trees. I don't know a lot about greenways. I don't know what the salt, da-da-da-da-da. I didn't know any of that. When we become older, yes, we have mad love I definitely have mad love for my district. We have mad love for our city, most of us. But we also have to be accountable to educating ourselves about other parts of the city, even though we don't like driving over there at night, for example. And so I am thankful for her blog posts. I'm thankful for, one-on-one conversations, because had it not been for her thoroughness in educating not only her constituents and the public about priorities that really took up a lot of time here at council, but more importantly, she made sure we have the information. So we all get one single vote, at council. The mayor isn't voting for us. The mayor, I just want to reiterate, the mayor does not host our neighborhood meetings. The mayor does not answer our emails for us. The mayor is not encouraging our constituents to speak or not speak, for specific things. That is not her job. It is our job. And so I believe, because I became well educated on a topic, Nikki had done her due diligence to ensure that her constituents were well educated on the topic. And I know more about the West Side and trees than ever before. So, but back to the beginning, I just want to say again, I'm thankful for Nikki's leadership, selfishly so, because I am selfishly concerned with Black women and Black women's place in leadership in Madison, and I am inspired and I feel empowered knowing that we are likely going to see some young Black women coming to us asking more about running for council or serving on a committee or coming to a neighborhood meeting, because we had a Nikki Conklin who was in their neighborhood, who was at their school, who was knocking on their door, and they're gonna come to us and say, I am here because Nikki Conklin. Like, I'm confident of it. So y'all get ready and make sure when you talk about Nikki, you talk about her correctly, because one thing I do not like is fake news. I don't like it at all. So make sure you have all of Nikki's facts straight. Make sure y'all print this document out, this resolution, so you can always point to it. And when you talk about her correctly. You talk about her with the power and the influence that she's had for the last couple of years. She's been here longer than I've definitely been here. And we're gonna see Knockley. The last thing I'll say is that I'm so ready for Black History Month in February, because you know what we're gonna see, right? Nikki Conklin representing all the schools, literally. So I'm ready for Black History Month. And if educators are in the room, you make sure that Nikki Conklin is on your doors, on your walls, in your hallways, represented, because she's done a fine job of representing not only for her constituents, but absolutely creating space for Black girls and Black women to win too. So thank you for showing up for us as yourself.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Martinez Rutherford.
Did I?
Your name's on the paper.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. I was enraptured. Nikki. The moment I met you, my heart connected to yours. And watching how you carry everything into every space, hold it sacred and bless it, makes me so happy. Every time I started to feel overwhelmed, you would text me. I always felt overwhelmed. You would text me, and the way that you looked after me in times when I really needed it means so much to me. Your willingness to show up and fight for the people that you represent is inspiring and beautiful. And your drip is the most, and I love it. It has been an honor to get to know you and be in community with you, and I look forward to being in community with you for many, many years to come. And thank you so much for all the work you do, all of the passion that you have, and all of the you that you bring to everything. I'm short.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Conklin?
Well, y'all know I didn't prepare anything because I always speak from my heart. You know, I can't say more than what Alder Madison and Martinez Rutherford said because it's true. I mean, I show up as me. This is Nikki Conklin. You're always going to get Nikki Conklin. I can't be anybody else but me. I have been real. I have been authentic. I have been honest. And I have led my community in this city from the bottom of my heart. In my morals and values that I cherish. So as difficult as this is, this is not the end. This is just the beginning. I know that the Most High has something more purposeful, more great for me. This is just the beginning. I have a huge purpose on this earth, and this is just the beginning. I have to thank my children, Andre, Zaria, Zyla. They made the most sacrifices out of all of them, out of everybody. My children sacrificed so much for me to be here, for me to serve my community. I'm thankful for them. I'm thankful for my 100% volunteer team for my campaign. I didn't pay them a penny. They spent so many hours, days, knocking doors, making phone calls, holding me up when I couldn't hold myself up. My team brought me here, and I'm thankful for them. I'm thankful for my colleagues. I'm thankful for my sisterhood. I'm thankful for being a part of history. We made history, and they'll never take that away from me. I know you guys are going to miss my earrings every council meeting. I don't know what you guys are going to look at, but I'm sorry you guys won't have my earrings no more to look at. Like the mayor said, I'm always going to be Alder Conklin, District 9. That's my home. That's where I've raised my children. That's where I've started from the bottom, and now I'm here, honestly. What? I'm just thankful and honored for this opportunity that I have to serve my community in a different way. I've been doing the work long before I came to council. My community still, my Wexford Ridge, my home, they know who I am. I've never changed up. I'm going to remain the same. I'm still going to be, hey, Miss Nikki, when I walk outside today, when the kids see me. So honestly, I'm really thankful and grateful for this opportunity. Mayor, you are a rock of this city. I'm glad to be under your leadership. You led me to many great places, along with all the city staff that I have worked with. We couldn't do this job without them, honestly. City staff, I take my hat off to you, Director O'Keefe, Jojo O'Brien, just to name a few. But it's been a pleasure working with everybody. Like I said, this is not the end. I'll still be around. For those who know, they know how to get a hold of me. And until then, I want to wish everyone the best of luck on this council. And I pray if you guys need anything, please reach out to me. I'm available. I've always been available to my community, to my constituents, and love, peace, and hair grease. I'll see you in community.
Thank you, Alder. It's been moved and seconded. Is there objection to recording unanimous vote in favor? Seeing no objection, recording unanimous vote in favor. Item 5 is Legistar 87840, commending and thanking Alder Amani Latimer Burris for her dedicated service to the constituents in District 12 and to the city of Madison. Alder Bennett.
Amani. Our council meetings are going to be a little less long with both of us gone now. Whereas Alder Amani Latimer Burris, otherwise known as Alder Amani, was elected to the Madison Common Council and assumed office on April 18th, 2023. And whereas Alder Amani served on the City-County Liaison Committee, Landmarks Commission, Water Utility Board, and participated in various city committees, including Parks and the Urban Design Commission. And whereas Alder Amani faithfully represented the diverse voices of District 12 by working with residents, businesses, nonprofits, stakeholders, city staff, and others to address key and ongoing issues such as housing and development, property management, metro redesign, public safety, traffic, zoning, homelessness, environmental protections, small business support, senior care, youth services, art and culture, and more. And whereas Alder Amani championed civic engagement by hosting and facilitating 23 in-person listening and community input sessions, increasing neighborhood involvement and fostering transparency and inclusion. And whereas Alder Amani engaged developers early on, urging them to meaningfully include the community voices in decision-making, especially regarding the impactful issues like F-35 noise, parking, street use, need for sidewalks, and emphasized going beyond the city's checkbox community engagement requirements. And
whereas Alder Amani supported the first ever raising of the transgender visibility flag in Madison, standing in solidarity with the LGBTQ+ community, and joined others to sponsor resolutions to uplift the voice of Madison residents to the federal level, including calling for a ceasefire in Gaza, condemning Islamophobia and anti-Semitism, and opposing Social Security Administration office closures and cuts to Medicaid. And whereas Alder Amani helped shepherd numerous housing developments that will result in thousands of additional units in District 12, ensuring that developers heard and where possible incorporated the neighborhood concerns, working earnestly to promote development choices that were better aligned with the community needs. And whereas Alder Amani authorized several important resolutions, including a resolution calling for the creation of a housing strategy task force, which led to the Housing Strategy Report, urging the city and administration to lobby the state legislature to expand revenue options for municipalities, advocating for a municipal sales tax and regional transit authority, which will contribute to the long-term financial stability and disburden the taxpayers from the potential of ongoing tax referendums, and in conjunction and in partnership with SEIU, using employers to support flexible paid time off for its employees in recognition of our quest for and right to freedom as individuals, as a nation, which is represented by Juneteenth, the 11th federal holiday, passed by Alder Amani's cousin, Dr. Opal Lee. And
whereas Alder Amani joined the Alder from District 18 to successfully co-sponsor and secure funding for the body camera pilot program, reinforcing transparency and accountability in a public safety. And whereas Alder Amani worked with other alders to continue the work of police accountability by restoring funding to the Office of the Independent Monitor and reconsidering the elimination of the Public Service Review Committee, and whereas, working with the Public Market Foundation, other alders, staff, electeds, and committed stakeholders, Alder Amani championed the public market, advocating for its preservation and progress when it faced potential cancellation, and whereas Alder Amani worked with others to ensure continued funding and community support for major District 12 projects, including the Warner Park upgrade, the Imagination Center, the Bartolon project, and additional green spaces like the Marsh project. And whereas Alder Amani strongly supported the Office of the Independent Monitor, fought to preserve Civil Rights Department funding, and resisted budget cuts that would pit services for BIPOC communities against those for seniors, and
support nonprofit organizations such as Northport Community Center, NPC, Eastside Community Center, Affordable Dental, The Hub, the Riverside Food Pantry, and helped neighborhood associations and businesses grow and connect with city resources. And whereas Alder Amani played a role in a citywide discussion in zoning, supported the expansion of accessory dwelling unit, and using tax increment finance to support vital infrastructure such as stormwater pipes. And whereas, as a member of one of the MGE EV Advisory Committee, Alder Amani contributed early effort to expand electric vehicles infrastructure, which resulting in one of Madison's first neighborhood charging station outside North Street Cafe, Young Blood Beer Co., Bloom Bake Shop, and Café Domestique in her district. And whereas Alder Amani advocated for environmental sustainability and by convening city staff, expert, and stakeholder to protect wetland area, including facilitating a land purchase that work for balanced environmental and developmental interests. And whereas Alder Amani Latimer's Burris supported the funding and groundbreaking of the state-of-the-art PFAS treatment facility at Well 15, which will be operational this year and will be the state's first municipal well to disperse hybrid treatment system using granular activated carbon and ion exchange resin to remove PFAS containment. And
whereas Alder Amani acknowledges the decades-long environmental justice work of Dr. Maria Powell, whose tireless advocacy brought attention to the issue following the detection of PFAS contamination and voiced community concerns, which led Alder Amani to start the pre-advocacy work of calling for Well 15 to be named after Dr. Powell, and an educational marker to be placed forthwith to recognize her work and leadership that saves lives. And whereas Alder Amani called for and led efforts for the equitable education of Common Council, most notably for advocating for and helping to implement the first ever series of Common Council budget engagement events, which drew hundreds of residents and produced a detailed report to inform future budget decisions, and will undoubtedly serve as a model for the council to use and promote in the future. And whereas through tireless advocacy, inclusive community building, and a vision for justice and sustainability, and sticking to the principles of transparency, integrity, and accountability, working alongside of alders, supported by staff, and pushing for the neighborhood under thoughtful mentorship and inclusive of stakeholders, Alder Amani has served with integrity, compassion, and excellence. We're almost there. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and Common Council commend and thank Alder Amani Latimer Burris for outstanding service to the residents of District 12 and neighboring districts and the entire city of Madison.
Thank you, Alders. We'll take that as moved by Alder Bennett and seconded by Alder Martinez Rutherford. Alder Rummel.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Alder Amani. It's been such a pleasure getting to know you for these many years and serving with you. How we met, I think, is sort of a fun thing because at some point in 2020, each of us ran for offices at the state level. I ran for the 76th Assembly District, and you ran for the 26th Senate race. And I think we connected then, but we definitely connected when in 2021 you served to fill the a special election for County Supervisor District 12 after the death of the former supervisor there. And that's when I remember our first conversation. And if you know Amani, you know you don't have short conversations with her, which I think is okay, really. I mean, I'm not really a phone person, because if I don't really know what to say, then I just get awkward. But with Amani, we always had something to talk about. I mean, it's kind of amazing. So we've known each other for quite a few years. And of course, like many of my age, I knew her mom through my work at the Rainbow Bookstore. She would come into the bookstore, and like so much of your Alder life, you don't always know people's kids. So I didn't know that, her children until I met you, Amani, and I'm so glad I did. You mentioned more than once that I mentored you. Well, basically, maybe the parent mentor is the right analogy, because I did reach out to you because I count District 12 and also District 15 as part of my larger area because I know it so well, and it's like the Near East Side to me, and even if you call it the North Side, well, that's okay, but I think of it as the East Side. That's fine. We can argue later over coffee. But anyway, I reached out to you because I felt connected to your district and I knew what was coming, plus we'd already had a connection. And honestly, Alders, District 12 was the busiest district this term as far as development. And I don't know if that you drive around it as much as I do, but everywhere you go, there's some new housing going up. And some of it was before Amani's term, but it's just all coming live. It's amazing when you think about some districts don't have really much any new development. And in her resolution, she said she had 23 neighborhood meetings. Even I never necessarily had 23 meetings in a year, but depends. Like you have a street construction, you have a parks thing, you have some local district issue, you have a couple developments. It could add up, and it added up for Alder Amani. And so, the thing is, I hope people keep in mind about you is you just stood and okay, I got to learn stuff to do this job. And you started doing that. And maybe you didn't learn the same way other people's learn. I said to more than one Alder that I think she's imprinted differently than you or I. But I never worried when she'd ask all those questions, although I did sort of say to her, you could be strategic about your questions. But, who am I to say, if I think asking questions on the floor of the council is part of your job. Maybe you all think, I got all my questions answered with staff before the meeting and I'm fine. And you're not going to say a word. That's not a service to the public. Maybe you don't want to just talk to make words and empty space, but we have a right as to our citizens to share with what we know. And if there's questions that you knew about, to pose it to staff, telling them in advance you're going to ask about this, so that other people know what you've learned, or maybe you still haven't resolved how you want to deal with it, but at least so it's on the table. So I admired you for that, even as others maybe gritted their teeth. But I thought about your district a lot and all the things that I saw that you dealt with, and maybe I'm just more familiar with it than others, but all those developments that are really important to the city, like at Huxley Yards and all the things that are going to happen at Oscar Mayer, these are city-changing events that you all are not done yet. We don't know what will happen with Oscar Mayer, but I made sure that Amani connected with like the consultants that helped the city with the Oscar Mayer plan, so she could have, you know, a help of just shooting the shit with somebody about what that involved. And, you know, I felt that was one of the best things I did for her. And just even like having to deal with well 15 and PFAS. And I mean, just, I don't know, people, if you think about all the things, you know, the Hartmeyer Ice Arena, the fireworks, Bartolon and homeless issues, there was a lot going on in District 12. And I also want to call out that one of my friends who is active in SEIU reached out to me about the thing that was mentioned in the resolution about the Juneteenth as a paid holiday. And I said, friend, you should reach out to your alder, who I knew it was Alder Amani, and he did. And so I put her in that put her in that leadership spot where, like, let's try and make a resolution where we say that local employers should have Juneteenth as a paid holiday. And you know, the council passed it, and I'm so proud of that work that you did on that. When I think about all the things I learned from you, like the whole notion about check boxes. Like, I think the whole concept of check boxes now has become a thing. Like, during the, like, demolition ordinance change, it was like, we're taking out all the check boxes. I'm like, that's a Romani word. Like, she helped me see, like, how there's, like, you know, maybe Alder Bennett would call it the bureaucratic things, but they're, like, all these things that we just do and say, oh, we checked that box. And she was, like, challenging us to always question, you know, what it meant to check that box, and did we really question that box the way it needed to be questioned? And so I am really sorry that you're not going to be able to serve going forward. I know you're the new person, you know, will step into your shoes, I'm sure. But I hope to stay connected with you, and I look forward to see what else you decide to do in this city. And thank you for your service. And I love you too.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Knox?
As usual, you lose your notes when you need them. I guess I'd just start with Imani. You know, I've known you for many years, from knowing your parents, really close friends with Malele. I know Jim and your siblings. So I've known you for a long time. The thing as serving alder that I think about with you, Imani, is how you always exhibited thoroughness and attention to detail. So that on these issues in your district or even with the city, you always do a real thorough job. You ask a question, and invariably you're going to get more questions too, follow-up questions, because Imani really seeks to understand all of the angles and the issues, and I always appreciate that. Not only will that be the case, but even if anytime she asks you a question, you're going to get more than you bargained for every single time, you know, because she's going to keep asking questions, making you think about maybe some things you haven't even explored. And I just think about that as because you have the willingness to go that extra mile. A lot of people don't do that, don't have time to do that, but Imani always takes the time to go that extra miles to research and ask the questions from staff, from community experts, and from anyone that she can fully understand that situation. I think we're gonna miss that. You know I'm gonna miss it. And Imani, you always provide tireless service to your constituents. And that's why I know how important being an alder is to you, because you do work hard to make sure that your constituents know. I like what Marcia said when she said that you make sure that your constituents know what you know. And that's not easy to do. You know, a lot of times we have knowledge about issues, but we don't always necessarily share that with the public so they know that you know that. I admire your tenacity and courageousness to be willing to create on the fly. She was a freshman alder and she would just create on the fly. That takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of tenacity, and I admire that. You know, most of the time we try to get those answers somewhere else because we don't want to have to try to create it on the fly. And I just marvel at your willingness to do that. And I admire your integrity. I know that's a trait that you get from your mom and your dad. I know them. And these are long-term leaders in our community. And I think people don't realize whose shoulders we stand on. We stand on a lot of shoulders here. I served a long time ago, and these were the people, the go-to people that we had to go talk to that encouraged you and said, look, you got to be a leader in your community. You got to be willing to stand up for your community. And so, Imani, I know where you get that from. And I know that this certainly isn't your last opportunity for civil service. I know that. And so I just wanted to just say how much we appreciate you. You're always willing to get into the muck, you know, sometimes. But you're just so courageous. And I really admire that. And we're gonna miss that. And hopefully, you know, we'll all have a little line to you sometimes so you can help us process some of these issues. But just knowing you, and it's not just you, you carry a lot of people inside of you. So I appreciate that. Thanks.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Latimer Burris.
I know you'll miss me. 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 Okay. And I really did do 90, Dina and Nana, this is for you, 90 hours on Hartmeyer Ice Arena, physical hours. And yes, Juliana, I have that need to be exact because we are dealing with people's lives, and when we miss it, somebody might die. Somebody's going to go without food. Somebody's not going to get that job promotion. Thank you, Nikki. Somebody's going to raise a kid that could have been a doctor, but's just going to be a tattoo artist or a prostitute. That's pretty dramatic. So I know that I'm intense. I know that I am long-winded, and I know that you're going to miss me, and I'm unapologetic about that. Just as Alder Conklin is unapologetic about who she is, I am absolutely unapologetic about who I am. So I'm not going to make a long speech because my council members have implored me to speak under 3 minutes, and since they asked me to do that, that's what I've done, right? I did. I can learn. So first of all, I want to thank you, Mayor. I know that we've gone back and forth, and every time I come in, you're like, okay, here we go. She's going to say something. I am. But you're a strong leader, and we need to have a council that is as strong as you are as a leader, and we will make progress. And that's what I was pushing for when I was asking questions, when I was reading, when I knew more than some of you on council that were getting ready to vote. Nobody asked me questions on Hartmeyer Ice Arena. I went deep for you. I want to thank my dad who's here. He's 91. He is a survivor of, his parents are a survivor of Greenwood, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Black Wall Street. He was raised on Black Wall Street, and that is why I have standards that are impeccable. Because they had to survive. His relatives built and rebuilt a city that was burned to the ground under total oppression, and rebuilt it, and raised him who raises me. And they produced the best in the nation. Juilliard, Boston College, we've gone to Stanford. We've been at the top. We are at the top because his parents survived complete oppression. So I want to thank the community, thank staff who's here that actually does most of the work for us. Thank all of you constituents, what normal people would call residents. I want to thank my family. I want to thank my partner for putting up with me. If you guys think I talk a lot on the floor, can you imagine when I go home at 1 o'clock in the morning and then Rick has to listen to Amani go on for 2 to 3 hours? Thank you to the city. Thank you to the haters. Thank you to the detractors. Thank you for the Slack channel that y'all talk about. If she goes on another minute, it makes me better. I take everything in and I change and I grow so that I can continue to lead with transparency, integrity, and accountability. So I want to give the next alder coming in a piece of advice. Julia's here, Julia Matthews, Alder Matthews, who is going to be an excellent alder if you do a couple of things. First and foremost, you have to measure and decide, as my father would say. Amani, you measure and decide. What that means is sometimes a situation you're going to be pushed and pushed and pushed to do it this way, and your cohort's going to want to do it this way, and your friends are going to want to do it this way, and the people that trained you are going to want it this way. And you have to measure and decide. Alder Tagg knows that. And even that we go at it, he knows that. You got to be independent. You got to ignore the noise. You got to think for yourself. You got to ask a lot of questions. Even if it annoys people, even if they roll their eyes or they lean in, one more time, okay? And even if the information comes from the top, because the top has an agenda, the mayor is going to lead the city the way that she sees it, and you will make her a better mayor by knowing and asking questions and pushing her, okay? So you were elected by the people to represent them. I have learned more about the environment, more about roads, more about sewers, more, I could go on, but I won't. Chickens, everything. ADUs, pigs. You need to vet information. And do not ever be used without your consent or co-opted. You are not here to serve at the pleasure of anyone else. One of the things that the city has to take on, and the nation has to take on, is race and economics. If we do not take on race and economics, it's at the intersection of everything. It is what is missing from 1960s, 1920s, 1890, 1865, all the way going back to the beginning. If you do not take on race and economics, we will not make progress. And every decision that you make is based on that. And that's why we're unique. And that's why you're unique as a mayor, because you are a kid that came up without anything. And you want to make sure that the next generation has it. And I understand that. So thank you for putting up with Amani. I'm going to miss you guys. I'm not going to come visit, but I'm going to miss you guys. And I want to congratulate absolutely all of us for everything that's happened, all the ways that we've grown, when we're going to sit back in years from now and think, did we make the right decision? How can we handle that better? This job will make you grow and will make you research yourself. It'll make you look into your soul, because you will come up on an issue where it's going to challenge you and you've got to make the right decision. So I appreciate all of that, and that's all I have to say. So I'll close again like I started. I know you'll miss me. I know you'll miss me. But thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I love every single one of you guys, even when I'm annoyed with you.
Thank you, Alder. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any objection to recording an affirmative vote on item 5? Seeing no objection, we'll record that vote. Item 6 is Legistar 87810, commending and thanking Alder Jael Curry for her dedicated service to the constituents in District 16 and to the city of Madison. Alder Field.
Are we going to pause? It's 2 o'clock.
No, we're not done yet. Oh, okay. Alder Field?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Whereas Alder Jael Curry was elected to the Madison Common Council on April 20th, 2021, and whereas Alder Curry served on the Early Childhood Care and Education Committee, the Committee on Employee Relations, the Finance Committee, the Housing Strategy Committee, the Madison Guaranteed Income Pilot Advisory Task Force, Madison Common Council Executive Committee Subcommittee to establish a council code of conduct, the Common Council Executive Committee, the Plan Commission, the Jeffrey Clay Erlinger Civility and Public Discourse Award Committee, Community Services Committee, the Disability Rights Commission, and the Board of Park Commissioners. Ooh. Whereas Alder Curry was elected by her peers to serve as Vice President of the Common Council from 2022 to 2023 and President of the Common Council from 2023 to 2024. And whereas Alder Curry led efforts to establish and unanimously adopt the first elected and appointed official code of ethical conduct, resulting in robust and continuing conversations about advancing the work of becoming a more inviting, equitable, and inclusive community and body through education, support, training, and resources. And whereas, with the help of city staff and peers, Alder Curry succeeded in a long-fought battle to get the city's 9th ambulance in service by getting funding for 10 new paramedic positions included in the 2022 executive budget. And whereas, Alder Curry has been a fierce proponent of innovative solutions to combat homelessness and is especially proud to have supported the vision and implementation of the city's first ever city-sanctioned campground on Dairy Drive. And whereas Alder Curry, through her hard work and dedication to her Alder duties, has faithfully and with honor served her constituents and the city of Madison. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Mayor and Common Council commend and thank Alder Jael Curry for her dedicated service to her constituents in District 16 and in the city of Madison.
Thank you, Alder. We will take that as moved by Alder Field and seconded by Alder Martinez Rutherford. And Alder Evers.
Thank you, Mayor. Years ago, there was this famous ad on TV for the investment firm E.F. Hutton. The tagline was, "When E.F. Hutton talks, people listen." I learned quickly, starting 4 years ago in the spring of 2021, when she was first elected District 16 Alder, that when Jael Curry talks, people listen. As for a couple of reasons in particular. First, as you have no doubt witnessed, Jael measures her words. She does not often speak. She's not the first to ring in. But when she does speak, it carries weight. When there's discussion, particularly when it's a controversial matter of some complexity, she often waits before weighing in. Being quick to listen and slow to speak, Alder Curry would summarize what she heard up to that point and then draw attention to what we had missed. I first noticed this at what was her second meeting when we were debating whether to refer the proposed purchase of the Zier Road site for the temporary emergency homeless shelter. As you may know, Alder Curry came to this body while also employed as the housing director at the YWCA with a strong commitment to ending homelessness. And Alder Curry seized that moment toward the end of our discussion to implore us, her colleagues, to be more mindful of our verbiage, our language, noting that our discussion up to that point was missing the most important detail, that the housed and unhoused alike are members of our community, that we need to build community among ourselves and not pit the two against each other. while also insisting nonetheless that meeting the urgent needs of the unhoused was of paramount importance. The motion to refer failed, and to this day, the Porchlight Zire Road shelter is still in operation, awaiting the opening of the city's first permanent purpose-built men's shelter early next year. We were still meeting virtually at that time, and I had not yet met this new alder in person, but I remember thinking that this was someone to watch. As the months carried on, she continued to impress me, speaking from her lived experience in measured tones, words that in themselves carried the weight of her values, her character. I was not surprised when Alder Curry was elected vice president in just her second year. I may have encouraged her to run. I don't exactly recall, but when she did run, it was clear that she was deserving of this post. She had shown her mettle in handling the pushback over the Dairy Drive encampment, again focusing on those most in need despite the complaints of some of her constituents. And it was in her second year she accomplished something that preceding District 16 alders had tried but failed, and that was securing the city's 9th ambulance, filling the gap in coverage for the southeast portion of the city that had persisted for many, many years. Elected to president in her third year, Alder Curry focused on process, addressing concerns raised by fellow alders regarding the need for an ethical code of conduct, but she did so by forming a subcommittee to openly and transparently bring all voices to the table. President Curry supported the expansion of council staff with a focus on improving resident engagement, but also focusing attention on the ways in which our work as alders could become more sustainable, offering workshops and training to help us clarify our values and improve our individual skill sets. This was also the year the problems at the Meadowlands and Harmony Apartments surfaced, and Alder Curry began working with Alder Field to deal with those management companies over security concerns amid multiple incidents of gun violence. I spoke with Alder Field about that collaboration, and the two words he used to describe Alder Curry were empathy and backbone. Her lived experience of having grown up on the East Side, raising her kids there, and knowing some of the families who lived in those apartments, Alder Curry kept centering the needs of the families, refusing to allow the matter to be unduly politicized, showing her backbone, always keeping her eyes focused on what's most important, showing her empathy. Most recently, this all came into clear focus in the aftermath of the tragic school shooting this past December at Abundant Life Christian School. I saw this firsthand. When Alder Curry chose not to attend the prayer vigil held downtown at the state capitol, instead went to the prayer vigil at the church next door to the school, not seeking the limelight, not seeking the microphone, but quietly meeting with the church and school staff and later making connections with local and state officials who could provide resources to help this community heal. All of this, and yet she's moving on. And while I'm indeed sad that's the case, I'm not surprised. She put her heart and soul into this work, and it was exhausting. But not to worry, JL's strong backbone and big empathetic heart will still be active in our community. On her LinkedIn page, JL agrees with the assertion that the people closest to the pain should be the closest to the power. JL chose to be close to those in pain so that they would have voice in waging effective political power. Empathy and backbone and empathy. This was Alder Curry's legacy as an exemplary public servant during her 4 years as District 16 Alder. Thank you, Alder Curry. Best wishes in all your future endeavors. Godspeed. Go forth in the confidence you have served your city well.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Curry?
I knew you were going to make me cry, but god damn, Tag. Thank you so much. All right, I'm going to stick to script this time. 48 months, 208 weeks, 1,456 days. That is 4 years. It's felt like it took a lifetime to get here, but here it is, the end of an era. Being an elected official has been one of the most eye-opening, challenging, and pivotal experiences of my life to date. And as the end has come, reflecting on the last 4 years has been surreal. I ran for office due to feeling compelled to use my voice, skills, and lived experience to bring non-traditional voices and perspectives to City Hall. I remember being infuriated while listening to commentary regarding the issue of homelessness in the city and those who experience it. And then I remembered and leaned in. If not me, then who? If not now, then when? This experience has changed me in ways I could have never imagined, both positive and negative, to the point I'm still processing. I legit might have to write a book or an expose. Being part of the most diverse council in history isn't something I disregard, as it is the truth. But what's personally painful is not having accomplished more collectively for Black Madison as one of 9 alders of this cohort who identify as Black. But I'm still proud of the history. I'm still proud to be part of this history and the many behind-the-scenes attempts to build political power and healing. I'm proud to be a member of the council who refused to kick the can down to councils of the future. We've weathered a lot of criticisms. We've had a lot of successes. But I'm optimistic some of our most controversial votes will be looked at and admired in years to come. I'm also proud of the hard but super rewarding work we did to build strong foundational working relationships and understand who each other are outside of policy. And this is the key of why I think we were successful. You can absolutely take or leave them, but it wouldn't be me if I didn't share some outgoing words of reflection and advice. For new and continuing alders, congratulations and thank you for stepping up to serve or continuing to serve in this capacity. Being an alder is an honor, and you did the work to get here. But aldering is hard AF. You cannot do this job alone. Find alliances and support within these 4 walls, at home and far away from Madison. Lean on each other, utilize and appreciate staff, learn often, and learn deeply. I'm rooting for you, seriously. For city residents, public service is serving the public good, rooted in the concept of working for the benefit of the community, rather than oneself and one's own interests. It's a beautiful but complicated premise. And after 4 years, I can confidently say that despite the differing perspectives of how to move our city forward, no one runs for Madison's Common Council to maliciously harm our community. We all want to do good and have ideas, dreams, and hopes for a better Madison. But at the end of the day, we are all imperfect people, just like you. Your alders are your neighbors, fellow tax-paying citizens, and humans trying to do good while making it through our own lives. We experience loss, grief, frustration, pains, and the highs and lows of life, all while being public servants in the public eye. Your alders won't and shouldn't know everything, and deserve your grace, understanding, and partnership as you hold them accountable. In fact, if you're doing a good job, you won't agree with them 100% of the time, if they're doing a good job. In this time of extreme polarization and angst, think about what Madison continues to demonstrate through elections. It's so much easier to criticize and belittle than it is to become part of the solution. And I have no doubt this next cohort will need your solutions and support. Now to my thank yous. Thank you to my parents, Gina and Blue. Being raised as a Jehovah's Witness, I never thought I'd be this politically engaged, let alone an elected official. Thank you for trusting me and letting me lead my way while supporting and cheering for me, all while fighting the fears you felt for me, being so visible and vulnerable as a Black woman in this role. I now understand why you chose to give me the name you did, and I cherish it all the much more. Thank you to Malachi and Zoe, Tori, and my closest friends for sharing so much of me with the rest of the world. I promise to be more present, less taxed and angry from this day forth. Thank you to my colleagues, especially my sisterhood, who I didn't know before 2021, but I'll never be without for the rest of my life. Thank you to my mentors, namely my ace, who likes to stay behind the scenes. You know who you are. And to my new alder, Sean O'Brien, thank you for making the decision to step down easier. Thank you to the dedicated, highly skilled, and extremely humble staff who really are the ones who make this city move. Yours is the tenacity I admire most. And in a field historically dominated by men, I have to give a shout out, special shout out to Mayor Satya Rhodes Conway for being a complete, badass, and for her compassionate, firm, and steady leadership. And to Dr. Karen Kapusapofal, our dynamic council chief of staff, who took the reins of her role during an extremely hard time, has tightened them and flourished in hurting her unruly children. Thank you. There's so many more, but we don't have time. I'm so grateful to have been afforded the opportunity to serve, and even more excited to be exiting to continue to serve. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any objection to recording affirmative vote in favor? Seeing none. Item 7 is Legistar 87821, commending and thanking Alder Charles Miadze for his dedicated service to the constituents in District 18 and to the City of Madison. Alder Knox, may we record you as making the motion? Alder Duncan, would you second? It's moved and seconded. Since Alder Miadze is not here, is there any objection to recording an affirmative vote on item 7? Seeing no objection, we'll record that vote. And Council President Figueroa Cole, would you please refer all unfinished business to the organizational meeting? So moved.
So move to refer all future business to the organizational meeting.
Moved and seconded. Is there any objection? Seeing no objection. Council President Figueroa Cole, I turn to you for the motion to adjourn this council sine die.
Move. Stop. Move to adjourn.
Moved and seconded to adjourn this council sine die. Is there any objection to recording unanimous vote in favor? Seeing no objection, this council stands adjourned. We will stand informal for a moment while the outgoing alders collect their belongings and their signs and move on. And while the incoming alders take their seats and get settled. If I can have the outgoing council members gather their belongings, please, and make way. And the incoming council members, please take their seats. All right, I will reconvene us. And the first order of business for the new council is the swearing in of newly elected and re-elected alderpersons. And I will turn to the clerk.
If I can have you all raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Barbara McKinney,
Do solemnly affirm
do solemnly affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and the Charter of the City of Madison,
and the Charter of the City of Madison,
and will perform the duties of the Madison Common Council
and will perform the duties of the Madison Common Council
for the state your district number,
for District 20,
City of Madison,
City of Madison,
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations all. I look forward to working with you. And our next order of business is to call the roll. We will convene the organizational meeting of April 15th, 2025 as a committee of the whole, and I will ask the clerk to please call the roll.
For your roll call. Your roll call is here. Glenn? Here. Glenn is here. Govindarajan? Here. Govindarajan here. Ugair? Here. Ugair is here. Harrington McKinney?
Present.
Harrington McKinney is here. Linkella? Here. Linkella is here. Knox? Here. Knox is here. Madison? Here. Madison is here. Martinez Rutherford? Present. Martinez Rutherford is here. Matthews? Here. Matthews here. Mayor? Here. Mayor is here. O'Brien? Here. O'Brien is here. Ohovitz? Here. Ohovitz is here. Pritchett? Here. Pritchett is here. Tischler? Here. Tischler is here. Revere?
Here.
Revere is here. Vidver? Here. Vidver is here. Duncan? Here. Duncan is here. Evers? Here. Evers is here. Field? Here. Field is here. Madam Mayor of Quorum.
Thank you. All right, next item of business is the election of the Common Council President. And we will have paper ballots for those of you who are in person. So I'll ask perhaps council staff could help the clerk distribute. And at this time, I will open nominations for the role of Common Council President. Are there any nominations? Alder Govindarajan.
I would like to nominate Alder Regina Vitiver for Common Council President.
Alder Govindarajan will nominate Alder Regina Vitiver. Alder Vitiver, would you accept the nomination? Alder Vitiver accepts. Is there a second? Alder Ugair will second. The nomination is moved and seconded. Are there any other nominations for Council President? Are there any other nominations for Council President? Are there any other nominations for Council President? Seeing none, is there objection to electing Alder Regina Vitiver by acclamation as the next Common Council President? Seeing no objection, congratulations, Alder Vitiver. All right, next order of business is the election of the Common Council Vice President. I will open the floor for nominations for Common Council Vice President. Alder Vitiver.
I would like to nominate Alder Govindarajan for Vice President.
Alder Vitiver will nominate Alder Govindarajan. Is there a second? Alder Figueroa Cole will second. Are there, Alder Govindarajan, will you accept the nomination? Alder Govindarajan will accept. Are there any other nominations for Common Council Vice President? Are there any other nominations for Common Council Vice President? Are there any other nominations for the role of Common Council Vice President? Seeing no any other nominations, is there any objection to electing Alder Govindarajan as Common Council Vice President by acclamation? Seeing no objection, congratulations, Alder Govindarajan. That concludes the business of the Committee of the Whole. I would entertain Council President Vitiver, a motion to adjourn the Committee of the Whole.
Move to adjourn the Committee of the Whole.
Moved and second to adjourn the Committee of the Whole. Is there any objection to recording unanimous vote in favor? Seeing no objection, then Common Council President Vitiver, a motion please to recess this meeting until 6:30 p.m. on April 15th, 2025.
Move to recess until 6:30 p.m. tonight.
Moved and seconded to recess. Is there any objection to recording unanimous vote in favor? Seeing no objection, then we stand in recess until 6:30 tonight. Congratulations, and we'll see you all this evening. Oh, I'm sorry. Just an announcement for the alders. You should have the form for the oath. You'll need to fill it in with the appropriate information, your name and your district, and then sign it and return it to the clerk, please. We have to sign it in front of the clerk? You are in front of the clerk. Please sign it in front of the clerk.